You hungry for more info on a potential Godzilla Minus One sequel? Well, so am I. What's up, everybody? D-Man back. Welcome to a brand new video, and today we're going to be continuing our Godzilla Minus One news roundup, where we chronicle the linear development and release of Godzilla Minus One by covering events that happened in January 2024. Alright, in this one we are going to be talking about a potential Godzilla Minus One sequel and what that might look like according to director Takashi Yamazaki. I have a feeling we're going to find out sooner rather than later what Toho's next move is going to be, considering the way Toho operates is taking things really slow, but I'd have a feeling that whatever it's going to be, there's a likely potential it was in development before Godzilla Minus One even released, so whatever it is might not be the sequel follow-up we're wanting, but I don't think that rules out a Godzilla Minus One sequel either. I don't think that's off the table, and there's a lot to go on what that might look like, considering director Takashi Yamazaki has not been shy about sharing his ideas for what might come next. Starting off, I want to show off a little bit of art here right at the beginning. This is from Sakura Godzilla, and this is their Reiwa Godzilla parody art. I really like it, it's very cute, love all those Godzillas lined up. I can't tell if that's supposed to be Monsterverse Godzilla is second there after Shin Godzilla, or if that's Godzilla Earth. I think it's Monsterverse Godzilla, and I always love the Ultima design. I just think it's so unique, along with Shin Godzilla as well. Obviously parodying this iconic meme, which I think is a lot of fun. GNA posted this wonderful Godzilla Periscope art. Oh, this just captures the mood of the movie so well. I love this right here. This is wonderful. Godzilla as a sea monster is one of my favorite things he could be, and I love to see more of that. Bandai revealed some acrylic logo displays for Godzilla Minus One featuring the G Minus One. Then there's Gojira Minus One. Those are both pretty awesome. I put them here because I found them to be quite artistic, and I liked them a lot. I just thought that they were very stylish, so I wanted to show them off in this video. The Awaji Island Godzilla Interception X Godzilla Minus One exhibition was announced starting on January 26th. For those of you who don't know, the Awaji Island Intercept is basically a giant Godzilla museum slash zip line where you can shoot yourself straight into Shin Godzilla's mouth. There's also like a little game where you can blast some little things there. I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's a weird thing for sure, but it's also a very awesome thing, so I think it's very cool and I would love to go, and I want to go very badly. Director of Godzilla Minus One, Takashi Yamazaki, met Mr. Oppenheimer himself, one Cillian Murphy. I believe they met at some Oscars related party. I love to see Yamazaki holding his little Godzilla there, very cute, but I just thought that was very cool and I wanted to talk about that. Takashi Yamazaki then visited Lucasfilms. Following statements that he hopes to someday direct a Star Wars movie, Lucasfilms chief creative officer Dave Filoni invited director Takashi Yamazaki for a special Godzilla Minus One screening, during which Dave Filoni gave the film high praise and hosted a filmmakers forum with Yamazaki, in which people got to do a Q&A with him. 300 employees gave Yamazaki a standing ovation, along with many Godzilla fans alike. Yamazaki reveals that this almost made him cry, as it was such a wonderful experience and a wonderful day. He said that he was excited to be with so many other people who know the joys, difficulties, and excitements of the VFX world, and how much fun and troubling it can be. Yamazaki also got a guided tour of Lucasfilms, in which he got to introduce Godzilla to so many cool people like Darth Vader and C-3PO. Yamazaki carrying around the little, I believe that's the band Presto Godzilla with him. It endeared him to fans and I think has become a very iconic thing, and I would expect to see many Godzilla directors moving forward doing things similar, as we eventually saw with Adam Wingard, who tried to capture similar magic by carrying his Godzilla around with him. It's just very wholesome and I love it a lot. And Yamazaki, a guy who grew up on Star Wars and who was inspired to make movies because of films like Star Wars, getting to visit Lucasfilms like this, it gives inspiration, I think, to many of us who are filmmakers or who dream of filmmaking someday. It's just very awesome. During an interview, director Takashi Yamazaki revealed a lot of really juicy information about Godzilla Minus One and the lore of that movie. In particular, he explains how Godzilla's mutation works and how his regeneration works. So basically, as he explains, Godzilla has not been affected by any type of radiation at the beginning of the film when he's on Oto Island, which I think many of us already assumed. It isn't until Operation Crossroads in Bikini Atoll that Godzilla's hit with his very first dose of radiation when he's hit with that atomic bomb. Godzilla, who was previously unaffected by any type of radiation, also retained his regenerative abilities, as that's not related to Godzilla's mutation. Godzilla's regenerative abilities being a thing that's natural to his species immediately calls into question if Shikishima would have even been able to stop Godzilla in the first place at the start of the film, or if Godzilla would have simply healed from getting shot by the plane and fired back even more ferociously, killing Shikishima in the moment. It is canon in the Godzilla Minus One novelization, which was written by director Takashi Yamazaki, who also wrote the film, that Godzilla was a peaceful creature that lived on Oto Island, bringing fish to the villagers, and also chose to spare Shikishima's life because he recognized that Shikishima did not open fire on him. It's the same reason Tachibana doesn't die either. They're the only two men that don't antagonize Godzilla. But in my opinion, that confirms that if Shikishima had tried anything, it wouldn't have worked, and Godzilla would have survived anyways, and then the world would be worse off for it. When Godzilla was hit by the atomic bomb, his skin was burnt up and he was reduced to a mess. The radiation inside of him then caused his regeneration to go out of control, causing him to become a gigantic, monstrous creature. And that is how Godzilla was born, because the radiation mutated his already pre-existing regenerative abilities. I think that is so awesome, and I would love to see what a regenerated Godzilla would look like in the next film. When Godzilla regenerates his cheek, it comes back all scarred up and different than it was before, so I'd love to see whatever he winds up after the events of Godzilla Minus One. Speaking of what happens after the events of Godzilla Minus One, Yamazaki followed up by explaining to H.J. Webb what his idea for a Godzilla Minus One sequel would be. He says that there is no such story or sequel that he's working on officially at the moment, yet he still is kicking around ideas and trying to develop a sequel in his head. Personally, he says he will be sad if someone else is chosen for the next film. He also says that there are a lot of people who he would be excited to see show up to direct the next film. So while he'd love a chance to return, he also is open to the idea of someone else stepping into Godzilla's shoes. The fact that he says that and the way he words it in the article, he's basically saying, when someone tells me that this person might direct the next film, I get excited, but I also get sad. When someone says I should direct the next film, I get overwhelmed, but I also get excited. Gives us a lot of context that there are talks of a next film and that there are not specifically talks of him doing the next film exclusively. Like, there are talks open to maybe another filmmaker will step in with another artistic interpretation of Godzilla that will be its own unique anthology story, just like Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One were. And again, I do think it's possible that that movie could have already been in the works for a while now, and I don't think that rules out the idea of a Minus One sequel. Yamazaki said if he gets to do another Godzilla film, he does want to do a sequel. He then says since there have been 2 solo Godzilla films in a row, he wants to include an enemy monster in the next one to keep it fresh. Godzilla's going to war, baby! I would love to see the Japanese Godzilla fight another monster again. Of course, it's happened in the animated movies, but it's been far too long in live action. It has been since 2004 that we've gotten to experience that, so I would love to see more. To represent that, Gomoro Island made this awesome art of Godzilla with Mothra flying above him, showing the potential for a Godzilla battle in the future of Minus One. I really love this Photoshop piece here, and I would love to see Mothra be that opponent because I think Yamazaki would have a really interesting reinvention of that character, and I think he would handle that material very well. Mothra lends herself to a lot of human drama, and I think that'd be great. Speaking of human drama, Yamazaki then went on in another interview to get more in depth about this, talking about human stories in Godzilla films. He explained that by adding another monster to a Godzilla fight, the human story instantly takes a back seat, and we've seen that in the critical reception of Godzilla films throughout its entire franchise history. Anytime another monster is in the film, the only thing we hear about the movie is people complaining that the monsters didn't get to fight enough, those stupid humans were in the way. Or sometimes they're complaining that Godzilla didn't get to fight enough, Kong was in the way. Either way, by adding another monster, you're putting the humans in the back seat, and I do think that's very true. You're also adding in a sort of silliness to the movie that you didn't have when it was just a solo film. Yamazaki says he would love to see Godzilla fight another monster, and his hope is to one day resolve the balance of having the kaiju battle, which is what we all want, while still keeping the human story at the center of the film and the story. I think that's a really commendable thing to want, and I love it. That's exactly what I want to see. In the next video, where we'll talk about a potential Godzilla Minus One sequel, we'll go more in depth with that because in February, he had a lot more to say about that. As for now, thank you guys all for watching. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. If you want to check out the Patreon, you can use the link in the description below. It goes a super long way towards supporting this channel and making sure that I can continue to make videos like this for you. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time for the next one. D-Man out.